The board entered executive session at approximately 11:58 a.m. for the purpose of conducting business and discussions regarding litigation matters, Mississippi Society of Disabilities, Mr. Vandy Pope et al., and Hinds versus Hinds County. These are purposes authorized for executive session by Section 254174B and G of the Mississippi Code as amended, which permits executive sessions for strategy sessions or negotiations with respect to prospective litigation or issuance of an appealable order, but an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body. And G, transaction of business and discussion regarding the prospective purchase, sale, or leasing of lands. Those present in executive session were Supervisors Robert Brown, Doug Anderson, Peggy Hobson Calhoun, Bill Fisher, and Kenneth Stokes. Also present were Chancery Clerk Eddie Jean Carr, County Administrator Carmen Davis, Board Attorney Crystal Martin, Deputy Sheriff Ronald Lewis, Budget and Finance Director Lily Woods, Public Works Director Carl Felix, and from Wagner Engineering, Joey Case, who entered at approximately 12:20 p.m. First, there was discussion with regards to litigation at Mississippi Society of Disabilities. The Board Attorney updated the board on the status of its pending litigation. There was discussion of this matter with a motion by Supervisor Stokes, with a second by Supervisor Fisher, all supervisors voting aye. It was resolved to authorize the Board Attorney to undertake certain actions with respect to this pending litigation. Next, there was discussion regarding Kern versus Hinds County. There was additional discussion on this matter. No action was taken. Third, there was discussion regarding the Byron Clinton corridor. Mr. Joey Case of Wagner Engineering updated the board on the status of pending acquisition of properties along the corridor. Upon motion by Supervisor Fisher and a second by Supervisor Calhoun, Supervisor Brown voting aye, Supervisor Anderson voting aye, Supervisor Calhoun voting aye, Supervisor Fisher voting aye, Supervisor Stokes voting nay. It was resolved to accept the recommendation of the right-of-way acquisition team to acquire parcels number 120 and 121. The board had additional discussion with regard to the status of property along the corridor. Upon motion by Supervisor Fisher and a second by Supervisor Brown, all supervisors voting aye, it was resolved to return to open session. The board returned to open session from executive session at approximately 12:42 p.m. No other action, vote, or discussion of any kind took place in executive session.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now go to Supervisor Fisher, and then we'll go from there. We have one additional item from Supervisor Stokes after Supervisor Fisher.
Mr. President, I move we allocate $26 million of money for road construction on Pleasant Byron Parkway, Norwell Byron Parkway to Section 2, approximately 3.24 miles upon completion of road acquisition.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to obligate $26 million to Section 2 of the Byron Clinton corridor, Norwell Road corridor. It's 3.24 miles.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll go back to Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to bring up Mr. Bingham if he'll come up with my motion to deal with this item.
See you later here. Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Bingham.
Yes, sir.
We had your comment.
Put it by Mike so he can.
We had your comment several weeks ago. We studied the feasibility of this parkway. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And your company would not have been limited to build or not to build, but whether or not it's financially feasible in all segments of the word financial to have a parkway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You guys had already started doing some of the work?
That's correct.
Mr. President, I move that we continue the relationship with Mr. Bingham's company and allow them to complete their job.
Okay.
Mr. President, before we take the vote, I would like to hear from our Hinds County Economic.
We've got to carry the motion first.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion.
Mr. President, I would like to hear from our Economic Development Director, Mr. Blake Wallace.
Okay, Mr. Wallace?
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Can you turn the volume up? Ray, how do you turn the volume up?
Okay.
It's on the side.
Can you hear us?
I hear you now, yes.
Okay.
Would you give us a report from the district regarding the economic impact study?
Someone's going to have to relay what the supervisor was saying to me because it's breaking up pretty bad.
Said it's breaking up pretty bad. So can you repeat the question?
Ask him what progress has been made.
She wants a progress report on the Byron Clinton Quarter feasibility study.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. After on the trip to Washington, we picked up a lot of information while we were there. And since we've gotten that information, we have started meeting with organizations in order to, what we think now is you're going to need much more than just an economic impact analysis of the corridor. It's going to have to be part of a full-blown feasibility, or best part of a good word, the plan that takes us all the way through implementation and does it over a realistic time horizon. And we're thinking probably at least a 30-year time frame. And within that, there will be an economic impact analysis done based on assumptions that we make over that 30-year period. Now, we have found the expertise to get this done, and we will have a proposal ready for you by your next board meeting. But it is going to be a substantial amount of work because in order to be able, from what we gleaned from our meetings in Washington, we're going to need an instrument to show our funders that we're going to be asking for additional funds, whether it's the state of Mississippi, whether it's the federal government or whoever. We're going to have to be able to answer some big detailed questions for them. And it's going to require the type of plan that I'm talking to you about now so that we can show them what we think the return on investment is going to be, via job creation, tax collection, and those kinds of things over a realistic time period as the corridor develops. And what would really also be able to assist this plan in a big way is we at some point need to know how the segments are going to fall out. So if there are 3 or 4 additional segments to complete on the corridor, we really need to know what order they're going to be done in, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because once we put this plan together, we really need to stick with the plan, or we'll have to spend additional money to come back and try to redo portions of it if we decide to deviate from it. So we give you the expertise to be able to do the things we want to do and give you a very, very solid implementation plan to move forward with not only being able to attract the funding to the corridor, but have a time horizon on how long we think that it's going to take the corridor to develop to the point to where return on investment is substantial enough that's going to encourage the funders to keep funding the construction of the corridor.
Okay.
Mr. Wallace, do you have a general estimate of how much it will cost to conduct this impact study?
Okay. Can someone?
Yes. Hey, Blake. Yeah, she said, do you have an estimate on the cost?
No, we do not. We will have an estimate on the cost at your next board meeting. We still have some things to put together, but we will have a cost estimate for you when we bring you the proposal.
Do you think it will cost in the sum of $200,000?
Repeat that. I didn't hear that. If someone repeat it.
Do you think it will cost in the arena, in the area of $200,000?
We do not know yet. We do know that it is going to be more than we anticipated on the, we were looking at doing simply an economic impact analysis at one point, and that would have been less than $200,000 for sure, and probably less than $100,000. However, that is not going to, in our opinion now, after we were able to meet with our delegation in Washington, that is not going to satisfy their continued funding of the corridor. We're going to have to go a little more in depth than we previously thought. And that's why we would really encourage the board to let us have the time we need and come to you at your next meeting so that we can fully explain this, and we'll have very detailed proposals for you at that time. And then the board, at that time, you can, decide which way you want to go. We're not saying that, you're going to absolutely positively agree with what we're going to put to you. But I think when we lay it all out to you, you're going to see that it is going to be something that is important. And the good part about it is whatever funding that we need to do this, it is going to impact our local community, because we are going to be able to have expertise in our community to get these things done.
Okay, let me just ask one particular question, then we'll go back down the line and talk see if Mr. Stokes or Mr. Fisher has anything to say as it relates to this particular issue. My only question, Blake, is, if I'm hearing this correct, I heard you use the word hire, so in other words, you're saying we're going to have to hire someone, you're going to have to hire someone to do what we've already hired someone to do. Is that an accurate statement, or is that an assumption that I'm making? Or that's my first question. And my second question would be, how much work had been done, or had there been any work done by you or Hinds County Economic Development before we made our Washington trip? So I know exactly where we are.
You need me to repeat that, Blake?
Okay, I need you to repeat the first question.
Okay. The first question was, are you suggesting that you hire someone to do for a project that's already been hired by the board to do? The second question was, how far along have you done any work previously on this project
Before the Washington
trip?
And, okay, so the board has already hired someone to do what? I'm not sure what the board has hired someone to do. Could you explain that to me?
As a point of clarification, the board rescinded the motion that hired Malachi. And so at that point, then brought the Economic Development Board on board. So there is no one hired to do the work except the assignment to Mr. Blake. So the question isn't a fair question that the board's being asked to hire somebody since they've already hired someone. The board, all that work was rescinded a few weeks ago, and then the Economic Development Department was put in charge of that, and that's where we are right now.
Did I miss a vote when we hired?
Yes, you did. You left after you never came to to the,
I'm talking,
executive session.
We
I'm
voted
telling
on
you.
Hinds County.
I'm telling you.
We should have.
There is, it's in the minutes. If you read
We're talking
it,
about paperwork.
it's in the minutes.
So it got to be a signed contract.
No, listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah, yes, I-
After the executive session a few meetings ago, that you didn't attend, there were 3 of us left. Mr. Anderson left and you left. And Mrs. Calhoun, Mr. Graham and I were left. And Ms. Calhoun made a motion to rescind Malachi. I seconded the motion and it passed 2-1. And it's in the minutes of the meeting. They were then assigned, then Economic Development, Mr. Blake was assigned, requested to do that work. And that's where we are right now.
Okay, only thing I'm saying, and it don't take a whole lot, this is not rocket science. If there's a contract, somebody show it to me.
That you don't have to have we don't contract with
We
our
did, we
employees.
government. We are government. I bet you when we finish with him, we're gonna have a contract.
We have
That's
that
how
today.
government work.
We haven't had a contract today.
That's why
been
we get ready to
to
vote, so we can get a contract.
And Mr. Blake is bringing that information to us next week.
We can call the question, Mr. President.
Okay, it has been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Wait, I have a question on the motion.
Okay.
What are we asking Malachi to do?
Okay, one second, let's try to make sure we keep this in order. If Mr. Stokes would just repeat his order, and we already have a motion and a second, but I just want for clarification what his motion is.
We're asking Mr. Bingham and Malachi to continue the feasibility that would include but not be limited to build or not to build the parkway.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor
Well,
of?
I have a question. I'm unclear on this. Because the motion to build has been passed for a long time. So how does a feasibility study, when millions of dollars have already been spent, how do you do that study?
It's not limited to that.
Well, what else is involved? I mean, you just open the door for somebody who bills by the hour to come in and hand us a bill for an untold amount of money. I'd like to know exactly what you're going to do.
Well, I understand from what I heard from the other gentlemen, they haven't decided on how much they're gonna charge, or how we gonna come up with money amount anyway.
They're coming to the next meeting with that information.
But look, we got a long.
Let me suggest that we hold off on taking a motion until our next board meeting, and we can get all of the facts that we need. There's not, I don't see a haste.
Call the question, Mr. President.
Let me say, I don't see a haste at this point of doing the impact study. We have been told by our congressional delegation that we must have the funds obligated by the fourth quarter of this year, or those funds will be rescinded. We also gained support from our congressional delegation. All of our members support Hinds County's project.
Call the question, Mr. President.
Okay. We now have a...
Wait, let me just say one other thing. So what you're saying, that if an impact study comes back and say that the project is not a viable one, which has already been determined that it is very viable, that we discontinue and that the funds that we've already spent will be wasteful spending? Is that what you're suggesting? Yeah, this board has a short-term goal to complete segment 1 of the project based on the current funding that we have. We have $26 million on hand to complete a segment, and that is a short-term goal for Hinds County. Our long-term goal is to complete all 18 miles of the project. And in order to do that, we must do it segment by segment. I don't know of too many highway projects that have been completed from the terminal or the origin of that highway to the end. I just don't know of too many highway projects that have been completed from the origin to the end. It takes government years to complete the entire length of a highway project. Highways are not built overnight. Again, it takes years because funding, the entire funding for the project is not in place. So government operates on a portion of a highway. Then when additional funding comes in, then government extends the highway length. And again, as more funds come in, government tries to complete the project. So if you know of any highway projects that were completed from the beginning to the end, it must have been a short highway, it wasn't a long one.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Stokes. We have a second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
No.
Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to continue the relationship with Malachi Financial Products to continue the feasibility study to build or not build the Byron Clinton Corridor Parkway.
Thank you very much. Are there any other issues?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Is there any need for Mr. Blake Wallace to bring back his recommendations?
Well, I
Next
would like to hear
Okay.
from Mr. Wallace.
Well, I would too, but I think that now that we're going to pay Malachi an untold amount of money for work undesignated, that they should do their own work to determine what kind of study they should have, not take Mr. Wallace's work and claim it as their own.
And I also think that it is a slap in the faces of our taxpayers not to know what they would be paying for services rendered for an impact study. I don't know what bill that you're going to bring back to the county, but again, I think this board should have at least a number, and before you all were recommending $200,000 to work also with Wagner engineers in conducting this study. So really, we don't have any information other than you want to do the project. You have 3 board members that are willing to give you a check that has not been signed, with a check that doesn't include a dollar amount. So out of the professional courtesy to our taxpayers, I think they need to know if you're not willing to respect this board by giving us a figure to conduct that study. Somebody needs to know. Why would 3 members of this board want to just give him a check and let him write in the dollar amount?
Let me just stop at this particular point and just, Mr. Bingham, what I'd like for you to do is to make sure that you provide a scope of work. I'm not going to get into a debate about writing checks and how much all this costs. I'm going to keep this as professional as we possibly can. If there's another statement that you would like to make as regard to the scope of work, then from this point, we've talked about this issue long enough, then what we'll do is we'll move on and we'll make sure that if there's anything that we need to do legally, that it's done with the board attorney. I don't know, or I don't think anyone has any estimate as to what it's going to cost. So for us to throw out the numbers, it's just not fair at this point. I'm not going to throw out a number because I don't know. But just let me finish, Ms. Gallen, and then we're going to finish this up because we've been talking about this for about an hour now. Is there any other statement that you'd like to make regarding what you've done and what you need to do, and providing each board member here with any request that any board member needs? Then I would suggest that you make that you follow through on their request with everything that they need, and we go from that particular point.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to, just, remind, the board that, I have worked with the county in excess of 9 years. I think our record it's public and it's clear. I think we have, as a firm, always kept the county's best interests first, and I think as a result of it, the county has been better off. Under our guidance, the county has received 2 credit rating increases over the course of the last 9 years. You've completed a number of financial transactions, all of those transactions resulting in pure economic benefit to the county. I don't want for a moment for the board to feel like I'm here, just to try and hold the county, nor am I here in an uncooperative vein. I understand how important this project potentially is for the county, but I also understand how important the county's balance sheet is to the taxpayer. And I believe that the concept of feasibility first is a very prudent decision on behalf of the board. So I'll work with whomever you want me to work with. I'll provide whatever requests that are necessary, but we'll definitely get to the business of of what's required and what it's going to cost and all of that stuff. But yeah, today it would be really impractical to do.
Okay. Mr. President, you mentioned you don't want to sit here and be unprofessional. It is not unprofessional for taxpayers to know what cost it's going to take to provide this stuff. And so literally what we are doing, or what you all are doing rather, is providing a blank check.
Mr. President, I'm not providing a blank check to nobody. So don't sit up here and say I'm providing a blank check. And I've sit up here and this is allowing me and talk about we doing a blank check. We trying to do a study to make sure it's feasible. Mr. President, let's cut me because this is ugly. Because it's going back and forth. Those are false allegations. That man Blake Wallace told me he don't have the numbers. He didn't even show us a contract. He don't know yet how much it's going to be, and it's been months. But you want to tell us that we giving this man a blank check? That's a damn lie.
Okay, let me just cut it at this particular.
May I mention 2 other comments?
And then we're gonna cut this off. But before you do that, Mr. Calvin, what I wanted to just say is that when I used the word professional, I was referring to Robert's Rules of Order by showing courtesy to the individual at the podium. That's the only thing that I was meaning when I said about being professional. Just trying to be courteous to the individual that was speaking at the podium and not accuse him of anything or things of that nature. It was not directed at you or any other member of the board. So you can agree with your 2 comments, and then we're going to finish this.
I don't think any board member has been disrespectful, and certainly I have not, but I have asked some questions. Number 2 question is, since you don't know the cost, but Mr. Wallace with our Economic Development District was going to bring in a cost so that we would know. And this board did give him the task of looking at the service. Secondly, you say that you have begun work on the project, on the impact study. If you have begun work on the study, then you should be able to at least tell us what's all involved in the scope of work. So if you would extend that professional courtesy to this board to say, well, this is what is involved in conducting an impact study.
Sure. May I first clarify an economic impact study versus an economic feasibility study. I don't know what's involved in Blake's definition of an economic impact study, but what I know an economic impact study to be is the expected economic impact of a project that's been predetermined to be feasible after at its projected level of performance upon the final execution of whatever that capital project is. That's not what I am proposing to do. I am proposing to work more specifically with the economic feasibility of this project. And, just to give you the 30,000-foot view, what an economic feasibility study will do, it will take a global look regionally and hone it down to the local project that the county board is considering, the Clinton Byron Corridor. It will look for drivers such as revenue, such as opportunities for development, types of development, all of the things that go into the economic model that you would expect to drive the economic side of this project. Before, the board was considering, or at this time the board might be considering the issuance of debt in order to facilitate the completion of the project. Well, you know, if you're going to issue debt, if you're going to potentially issue debt looking forward for the completion of this project, then there has to be a repayment source. So we will start from there and back it out to a regional level. I mean, there are projects like this that's been done in the region. There are projects like this that's been done nationally. We'll also benchmark projects similar. And we'll bring all of the information necessary to the table to be able to prove to you that this project is either economically feasible or not based on today's capital projects comments.
Okay.
And Mr. President, thirdly, about my question is that I'm a firm believer in utilizing local Hinds County businesses because of the Hinds County tax paying dollars. Our citizens pay for services that we provide to them. And I'm sure our citizens would prefer that whenever possible that we work with local companies or universities. The district had mentioned working, partnering with Jackson State University to conduct this impact study. So I believe in working locally with our businesses or institutions, our colleges of higher learning. Your company is based in Atlanta.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I respond to that, please?
Well, I think that we've gone over a lot of this. Let me just read that the next work session will be May 17, 2012. At the board meeting at 9 o'clock. The next special meeting will be May 21st, a special meeting here at the boardroom. And then our next regular meeting will be June 4th, 2012 here at 9 o'clock in the boardroom. Any additional special recess or other meetings may be held by posting minute entries or other means allowed by law. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved.